It is Thursday, 12 o'clock EST, and that means it is time for event domination. Audience engagement. A happy audience is an engaged audience, and an engaged audience is a happy audience. But honestly, I started my conference because I was an unengaged person at basically all events. I hated going to events and I was not engaged. So today I'm going to be sharing some very specific strategies that you can use, whether you run a workshop, whether you run a large conference, a big conference, small conference, tangible things that you can do instantaneously right now to get your audience to be more engaged. And what does that do? Number one, it's going to increase audience happiness. It's going to get them networking more, so you're going to get better feedback. It's going to increase your back-end sales. Or if you run an expo style, it's going to get your vendors happier, and it's going to increase your return rate for your attendees. Because let me just share what happened that prompted me to launch my conference. I was in the real estate space, and all the events look the same. You end up in the same hotel ballroom. Everybody has a name badge. Everybody goes out into the hall to get their food with the lunch buffet. Everybody sits at those round tables, and you have the small little podium on a small stage with two like PowerPoint screens on either side. That is what most events look like. Plus, I forgot to mention the really ugly carpet in most of these hotel ballrooms. All the events are the same. And the way they're set up and the way they're delivered, it's not conducive to creating engagement and getting those juices flowing in the attendee's head. How do I know this? Because I was that guy. And I hated going to events. And so, we've scaled our conference to be, quite large now with thousands of people. And there's a lot of key lessons I've learned along the way that translate to a more engaged audience. We do a lot of audience surveys with our people just because we want to find out how we can keep making our conference, our events better, whether it's a workshop that we run or the big conference that we do every year. Okay, so today I'm going to break down the very specific things that you can do to increase engagement. Now, some of these are going to fall on the planning side, and some of these are going to fall into the actual integration, the activations that you run on site. Okay, so let me just start at the top, and we'll work our way down, which is usually the best way to go, no matter what you're doing. Okay, so the very first thing I want to talk about is the actual environment. So environment. And then nobody can read my handwriting, so we're going to do this. Oh, look, Ravi, it worked. This is awesome. All right, environment. All right, so with the environment, as I alluded to, most events look the same. So the easiest thing you can do to get your audience more engaged is to make the environment better. Easiest thing you can do. Because let me put it this way. If you sit somebody in a room for 1, 2, or 3 days in one of those typical hotel ballrooms with no windows, the ugly carpet, and the PowerPoint slides with the same lighting, all that type of stuff, people fall asleep. Now, what happens when people mentally fall asleep? They might not actually be snoring, but their brains turn off. What happens? Well, they're not going to be listening to the stuff you're giving them, and hopefully the stuff you're giving them in terms of your presentations is good. So you're not serving your audience, your customers the best way because you're talking, they paid to be there, but now they're not going to be able to digest what you're giving them. Why? Because you haven't set up the audience, the environment the right way. So number one thing you can do is change the environment, make it better. So at my big conference, we have this huge screen. Well, we've done it for the past couple of years. We'll probably change it up. But I spend a ton of money on production. What does that do? It keeps people excited. So rather than somebody walking in being like, oh, great, another typical hotel ballroom, they walk in and they're like, wow, a 180-foot screen that curves around. Like we've got all the lasers and the lights and we've got the music going. People walk in and they go, wow, that's what you want. Because now all of a sudden in their brain, instead of being like, okay, just another thing, they're like, holy shit, like this is going to be really cool. And then get the music going, and then you get the graphics and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's some people would call it fluff, but it's not fluff, because as long as you're still delivering good content, but now you've taken the attendee's brain state, where they're at in their head, and now you've moved them from just another thing to, oh, this is really cool. Now they're on the edge of their seat, and now they're ready to learn. Because really what you're doing is you're opening them up to absorb the information in a much better way. Okay, so number one, change their environment. Now, you don't have to spend tons of money like I do on production. You can take it from a hotel ballroom and just honestly just move it to another type of venue. Maybe a venue with some windows, a venue with the view, like just put it somewhere cool. You know, maybe you take it from typical hotel ballroom and you put it in like a brewery, or maybe like a car dealership, or an exotic car location. Maybe you put it in a really cool historic site, or so. Like, just change up the environment. And plus, the benefit to you is now you've separated your event from all the other events that look the same. I'm in the real estate business type of space, and there's 101 events on any given weekend. If you just change the environment and make it something cool, like, you've just separated yourself from the pack, which is, in terms of repeat and customer satisfaction, that's going to be huge for your event. So number one, change the environment. Don't do what everybody else is doing, because that's boring. All right, you got to change it. Okay. Number two. I was thinking number two. Here we go. Number one, number two. So with number two, you have to be able to influence what people do when they're at the event. So there's two things that you can do, and you have two options. Okay, you've got the stick. I was trying to make the stick in motion. Okay, so this is a stick that you're going to whack somebody with, and this is a carrot. You've got two options. You can beat people with a stick to force them to act, to move away from a pain, or you can dangle a carrot in front of them and say, hey, do this. If you've watched my previous videos, I've talked about ticket sales and how ticket sales is very much a stick-driven exercise. But on site, you really want to dangle that carrot. The stick doesn't work when the audience is there in person. So let me just give you a couple examples of how you can incentivize your attendees to take actions that will actually make them more engaged and happier and have a much better experience, plus learn more, so then they can take it out and make some real impact, and that's going to give you better testimonials and reviews. Okay, so let's talk about the carrot. You have attendees on site, and you want them to take a certain action because that's going to help them, but also you want them to do things other than sit down in the seat and just network and chat with people around the food station, right? Because that gets kind of boring. So one thing that you can do is you can have something that people would really get excited about. So let me give you an example. And whether you do this kind of style or not, it's up to you. It's just an idea. Let's say you have some type of after party or networking mixer or party after one of the days. You want to incentivize people to take action and do a certain thing that's going to benefit you, but also them. So one of the ideas that you could use is you could set up a station or a place where they have to visit, where they have to do an activity, or they have to do something, or like it's just something to get them doing something other than sitting down. Now, you want to give them something in exchange for that to incentivize that behavior. That's the carrot. But also you want to tie it together with your event. So let's say you have this after party and you've got a bar. Maybe it's a cash bar. What you can do is you can incentivize somebody to visit a station and participate in an activation by saying, hey, listen, hey, we've got some free drink tickets, go visit us over here. Hopefully you've set up the activation where it's engaging, it's actually fun. So the attendee is going to be more engaged, like, oh, have a couple laughs, but then you're going to reward them with the drink tickets that they're going to actually use at the after party or the networking mixer. So everything ties in together. You get them moving from bums and seats only or just like talking to doing something active in an activation or like taking part in whatever it is. And now you're rewarding them, dangling that carrot. And now the attendee is more immersed in the event. Number one, they're definitely going to show up to the after party now, which is what you want, right? And that's going to give them a different experience. But number two, you've got them activating in a certain way that aligns, that's going to actually help them. Maybe there's a sponsor involved and everybody wins. That's how you can actually use the carrot versus the stick. Let's see if this actually reads my sloppy handwriting here. Oh, Candace, carrot. All right, close enough, Ravi. All right, so that's supposed to be carrot. All right, there we go. All right, so carrot versus stick. Another thing that you can do in terms of, let's say you run an expo. You can incentivize people to start interacting with the expo. Now, why do you want somebody to talk with the expo if you're running an expo style? Well, number one, you want your vendors to be happy and have like lots of people showing up at the booth. But number two, with the events, let me draw this out. So you've got your umbrella promise of your event. So the promise of the event is, hey, like what is the one problem that this event is going to solve for my audience? That's the main umbrella. Now, under that umbrella promise of your event, there are lots of subcategories or sub-problems or challenges that your audience faces. So for example, let's say you're running an event for business owners, and it's really centered around scaling the business, marketing, and sales functions in the business. But a portion of your audience, that subgroup, that subcategory, may have an issue with HR and payroll. Well, you're not talking about payroll on the main stage. That's not a sexy topic. That's not going to sell tickets. But a portion of your audience is going to have issues with payroll. So maybe you run an expo style as part of your event, and you have a couple payroll companies that can really help out your audience. Well, you want to make sure that they connect, those specific people connect with those companies because they can help. Now, instead of just that person coming for the big promise, but leaving that sub problem or sub challenge, unfulfilled. Now, if you just connect them and get them interacting, well, everybody's going to win. The vendor's happy, plus also your attendees happy because they got the big promise, the big benefit from your event, but now they're solving that secondary problem that they have, and they just didn't have a solution for it. So how can you incentivize somebody to show up to Expo? You can actually use gamification to incentivize people to have a chat. So with technology now, with apps, so let's say you're running an event app, and you can even do this without an app. You can hand out tokens or coins or something. Let me break down both options. So with us, if somebody visits a vendor, they scan in at the vendor. Now, what does this do for the vendor? Well, number one, it's going to pass that attendee's contact information to the vendor, and now they're going to have a downloadable CSV file that they can export at the end of the event and then use that for their follow-up for everybody who visited their booth. Great. But now for the attendee, what you can do is you can actually give out points for visiting vendors. So number one, it incentivizes the attendee to visit all the different booths in your expo, but they can actually win prizes. Now, you want to have the prizes be, number one, really exciting, but number two, you want to align it to the pain points your audience has. So, whether it's free tickets for next year, like a VIP ticket, or you can offer free consultation or whatever, something that aligns to your audience that people would actually want. Or you can do the vacations too. Everybody loves vacations. But you want to have something really, really good that incentivizes the attendee to take the action that you want them to take, but more importantly, the action that's going to benefit them, which is finding out all about the solutions that you have. Now, if you don't have the fancy apps, like we run a large scale style, so we've got a lot of people. And so the app's perfect. But if not, you can give all your vendors like coins to hand out or tickets, whatever it is, and then you can hand those out to people. Or each attendee, they get a stack of tickets that they get at registration, and you can pop them in to little boxes at each vendor table. That's the more old school approach. Whatever it is, you want to incentivize people, dangle that carrot to get them interacting with your vendors if it's expo style, right? So you can see how if you have the right environment first, their brains are engaged, they're turned on, they're going to be more receptive to the information, which is going to benefit the attendee down the road because now they're actually going to listen to you. But then second, if we can incentivize people to get off their bums and then also just stop networking in their small groups and actually get out there. dangle that carrot, now they're going to be presented with solutions, and they're going to be able to solve a whole bunch of different problems that they have. Okay, so environment and then stick. Now the third thing is, and this is something I've learned as well, there's different presentation styles that you can use, and you want to be able to mix them up. Okay, so a lot of events, this is, let me walk you through what a lot of events do and the reason why it doesn't work. Okay, so a lot of events, and this ties in with sponsorship, a lot of events will have their main keynote content on stage. Person gets up for 45, 60 minutes, delivers their keynote presentation. That's the meat and potatoes of the content being delivered. But then what they're going to do is they sell these on-stage sponsor spots. Maybe it's a 10-minute, a 5-minute, 15-minute spot, which is basically a pitch from a sponsor being like, hey, sell my product. As soon as you start pitching and you're like, blah, blah, buy this, buy this, buy this, without delivering any value up front, what does that do? Well, people automatically turn off their brains. Automatically. And I've certainly learned this lesson as we've scaled our conference, because we've had some people where they pitch pretty hard, and we've definitely gone away from that now because it feels yucky, and there's specific ways on how we set up events now. Like we just had an event crush multi-7 figures in back end, and just following our processes and what we do. So if you're selling some type of high ticket product, if you're a coach, consultant, like that type of thing, and you have a high ticket product, you can definitely create a workshop or a conference or an event that generates a huge payday on the back end. But you have to do it the right way. The wrong way is to have these 15, 10, 5-minute pitch slots in, because you're basically shutting off the audience's brain right away, and it's not conducive to getting people into the right mindset to actually buy something. Okay, so that's one way not to do it. Now, in terms of mixing things up, you have a couple options. So option A is going to be panels. Now, so I personally hate panels. I do not like listening to panel discussions, but we get really good feedback from our audience about the panels that we do. So guess what? We incorporate more panels now. And for the next conference, we're going to be incorporating even more because people really like it. So this is why you have to talk with your audience and ask them for feedback. Because even though I personally hate listening to panels with a passion, a lot of people like it. So you do it. So number 2 is you have your general keynote. So this is your typical, you get on stage, talk, deliver really good content, hopefully, and everybody's happy. And then you've got fireside. So with your fireside chat, and let me just do this. Oh, I'm not sure if that worked there, Rabbi. Oh, okay, anyways. Yeah, so with your fireside chat, some people like it, some people don't like it. So you really want to have a mix of panels, keynotes, and fireside to really keep it fresh. Because what I found is, and especially with me, when I'm at a conference and it's the same, too much in a row, it's kind of like the environment. Your brain turns off. And if you look at people running events at a high level, so for instance, Tony Robbins, he uses music and the environment and the transitions to incredible effect. Even like how they flash the lights at their events and as he's delivering certain messaging, and how they tie music to evoke a certain emotion to line people, like masterfully done. Amazing. And that goes into the environment. So you have to, with the panels, the fireside, you want to mix it up. Because it's the same thing, like it's the same feeling as if you walk into a hotel ballroom and it's the same feeling as if you just have like 3 panels in a row. Your brain shuts off. If you have 3 keynotes with the same personality types, it's the same feeling. Now, going into the keynotes and your speakers delivering the content, one of the things we look at is speaker personality, because everybody has a different way, a different personality, a different tone, a different rate of speech. Some people are super chill. Some people are really really eccentric when they speak, and everything in between. Some people like to work the stage and walk a lot. Some people like to stay put. I'm a pacer. Like, I like to move around the stage, and I like to speak with energy. Some people are a little bit, more reserved, different style. What you want to do is, as you're building out your speaker lineup, you don't want to have the same, even though you could go from fireside to keynote to a panel, you want to take into account the personality and the feel of the speaker to make sure you're ramping things up or simmering things down and not having too much of the same back to back. So as much as, the style of content delivery is important, you want to make sure the person delivering the content isn't the same, because listening to 3 really, really energetic people in a row, that's going to get pretty boring. But if you've got a really energetic person in terms of keynote, then you've got a quiet person in fireside, and then you've got a mid-level person, a couple mid-level people on panel, great. Because now you've got those peaks and valleys in terms of energy and tone and rate of speech that really, it doesn't just rot your brain and put you comatose, because it's all the same. And especially now, like when you're watching, everybody's watching videos on TikTok and shorts, if you're not capturing it, if you don't have that strong hook at the start of that presentation, you're going to lose people and they're going to fall asleep. And then you see everybody picking up their phones and they start texting, which is not what you want. Okay. So number 1, we covered is environment. Number 2 is carrot and the stick, the things you can actually do to gamify and incentivize people. And number 3, you got to mix up your delivery. And so, and then also number 4 is going to be pre-event. So with pre-event, you want to, pre-event. So with your pre-event, you want to start planting seeds with your audience and get them excited. So the last thing you want is, you don't want them to show up on day 1 and just be hearing about all this stuff that's going to be happening then. Because, but when you look at anything, it's the excitement, it's the anticipation that makes it really exciting, not the actual thing. So if you can get people hyped up and excited about all the different things that you have, all your different activations, all of your specific, your specialized events, your parties, your networking sessions, your meet and greets, your roundtables, if you can get them excited about that before they show up in your messaging, whether it's email, text, if you have a forum set up, your app for connecting, if you can set that up before they even show up, now they're going to be way more engaged because they've got that anticipation, right? So many events, they don't have that warm-up sequence for their attendees, and then people show up and they're like, oh, okay, well, what's going on here? They're not excited about it. But if you can warm up the attendees, I'll give you an example. So with our VIPs last year, we had this black tie event at the Provincial Art Gallery. Really, really classy. I thought it was a gorgeous venue. We had people buying tuxes and like asking what kind of dresses their partners should wear. Like, everybody was excited about it. So people planned for it in advance. That's the type of stuff. So people show up and there's a buzz. They're excited. Oh, I can't wait to show you my dress. I can't wait to show you the new tux I got. I can't wait to show you my bow tie. That's exciting. That's an engaged audience. If you're not giving them something to be excited about, they're not going to show up engaged, right? And then it's just another thing. But if you get that excitement, that buzz in the room with the environment, with the incentivize, the incentives, the gamification, and you change things up, you offer different experiences, and then you get them excited leading up to it, it's just a way more different experience. It's just way, way better. Okay, so take those 4 things and implement them right now. Don't wait. Even if your event's coming up in 2 weeks, you can do this. You can gamify. You can change. You can add things to the environment. You can start a pre-event warm-up sequence. Now, ideally, with us, we like to work with events well in advance. 6, 8, 10, 12 months in advance, where we can really make a big impact. But man, like, if you've got an event coming up soon, great. Take this, change it, improve your event, Get your audience engaged, because an engaged audience is a happy audience. You'll get better testimonials. You'll have better back-end sales if you have a back-end product. Your vendors, if you run Expo, will be happier because your audience is more engaged. It's just going to work out better for you. So get your audience engaged. Don't wait. Like, do these things and make your event better. Don't be like everybody else. You got to stand out. That's the number one secret. So if you're excited about scaling your event, if you want to improve your event, get more people in the seats, if you need help scaling it, let us know. We can definitely help. We work with events from all over. So just go to theconferenceaccelerator.com. Check it out. We've got some case studies. You can book a call, and we'll see if what we do can help your event out and help you help you scale and improve your ticket sales, your back-end revenue, and the engagement level of your audience. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. See you then.